Hi, RichiBoy, and today I'm going to tell you why I think that your brain and money are fooling your eyes. Let's start. Well, I made a video that was many people watch it, at least in Spanish, many people watch it, over 50,000 people, telling why I think you do not need a full frame camera. Some people agreed with me, some people disagreed, and other people insulted me. People who normally insulted me or disagreed very often came up with some explanation that were laughable, really laughable for me, because it just proved they have no idea about how this works. Actually, very often we see what we want to see because we've paid for it. Or we see what we want to see because we don't want to look stupid when someone else says he sees it, but we don't actually see it. And other people actually tell us what we should see, and these are the sellers, because they sell us the product so we want to see it. So one of the first explanation was full frame has a higher dynamic range. Yes, that's possible. Technically, that's possible. But first of all, Ansel Adams defined 10 zones for photography. One is fully black, that doesn't exist, and the other one is fully white, that doesn't exist. So that leaves us with 8 zones to work with. So that's great that Nikon or Sony can claim to see 13 or 14. Basically, what they've done some subdivisions, and they take out noise and call it a new zone, but actually it's the same zone. But anyway, let's say it was possible, and they do have 14 zone or 13 zone, 13 dynamic range. That's great. But tell me, I can understand that Sony or Nikon or Canon or whoever sees them. They have special tools for that. I can understand that DxO sees them because they have special tools for that. But tell me how you see 13 zone on your computer monitor that actually can show only 11. If it can display only 11, unless you have a very expensive monitor that shows the 13, that's something like 3,000 or 4,000 euros screen, maybe you can see them. But the normal thing is that you cannot see them because your screen displays about 11. And you claim to see 14, so there are 3, you're just inventing. That's simple. And some people, when I said that, just answered, yeah, but I print. Oh, great, you print. I laugh even more. Why? Because printing pictures, photography, shows at the most 8 zones. So 8 dynamic range. So no way you are saying 14 when printing. It's just impossible. Another thing people were saying, yes, but with full frame you can get very high ISO without noise. Yeah, that's true. Some can, not all. There are some APS-C cameras that have less noise at high ISO than other cameras that are full frame. It just depends on the model, on the technology, on the age of the camera. Okay? But even so, from 1600 to 3200, depends on the cameras, every time you jump one full stop of ISO, you drop one range of dynamic range. It means if you go from 3200 to 51,000 ISO with no noise, that's great, but you forget one thing. 3200, 6400, one stop. 6400, 12,000, two stop. 12,000, 25,000, three stop. 25, 51, four stops. It means you actually have no noise on your 51,000 ISO picture, but you've dropped 4 dynamic range. So if you had 13, you drop to 9. So if a true photographer knows that photography is not about night spying, it's not about military vision, night vision, it's about light. He knows he has to put light to get the right picture and the right look. So he's not on 51,000, he's on 1600 maybe, or even less. But if he's on 1600, well, he's got the same noise as you have at 51,000, but his bad camera that has only 11 dynamic range is still on 11, and you're on 9. And when displaying on a screen that displays only 11 dynamic range, he sees everything he could capture, and you see less than what you could have captured, what they sold you. Okay, so that's a problem. Other people say, yes, but the thing about full frame is that you can actually have more resolution. The noise, you can actually have more resolution because the pixel are larger. You can fit more resolution in the camera without getting noise and problems. Well, in theory, yes, but there is a problem many people forget, is that the larger the sensor, the less depth of field you're going to have at the same given focal length and distance from the subject. So sometimes you're going to need to close your lens, the aperture, to have a deeper depth of field. And the result is that once you pass f11, then you have some diffraction. It means that you got some fringing on the side of the edge of things. You can actually see it. Why? Because the ray of light now doesn't cover just 1 pixel, but probably more than this, multiply of 4. This means that if you have a 40 million pixel sensor, once you get diffraction, then you don't have you still have 40 million pixels, but the actual details you see is like divided by 4. So it means now you have only 10 million pixels. And then if you close even more, maybe you have only 2.5 because it divides by 4 every time. So if you tell me, no, I prefer full frame because I get a lot of details, yes. If you use it on 2.8 or 5.6, you actually have more details, but probably you have shallow depth of field. So part of the picture is blurred, so you don't actually see the details you're paying for, just on the sharp part. And if you have to stop down the lens, then you get diffraction, so it divides your real resolution at detail level. So this is also a funny story. It means that if I am my Micro Four Thirds, I want to do a landscape. If I am on 5.6, I don't have diffraction, and I've got the same depth of field as you have on f11, and you have diffraction. So if you have, now you divide by 4, it means you're already from 40 million pixel down to 10 million pixel, okay? And I'm still on my 16 on my Olympus OMD M5 Mark II. So I've got more details than you have. Although I have less resolution, I do have more details. So maybe if you read the comments, some people commented, some pro have been using Micro Four Thirds and APS-C to make exhibition with very large print, like 1 by 1.5 meter, and they have a lot of details. And I also know people who had the Nikon 850 who dropped it because they had less detail than expected, basically because they were stopping down the lens and they were just losing resolution. So this is one thing you should think about.
Here I am in Barcelona. You can see on the street there's this building with 2 massive great picture there in my back, and the sound is not too good because I just saw it. I get direct sound from my iPhone, no microphone. And just to see that when people say that small sensor do not let you make really large print, as you can see, this is the size of the building.
But this is why people see what their brain tell them to see, or the money tell them to see, to justify the money they've paid, or to justify they don't want to look silly and think they're the only one who don't see it. It's like the moon. If you look at the moon, when they say this month we have the large blood moon, you know, everyone look at the moon and say, oh yeah, it's enormous, it's enormous. This is not true. It's not enormous. A few people say, well, I don't see it bigger. No, of course you don't see it bigger. It's only 5% of this surface, and you don't see it bigger. It's impossible you see it bigger. What happened? You see it from the moment it goes up on the horizon. You look at it, and then you have the houses next to it and the trees, and then you have the scale, so you see it bigger. But if you would look at any full moon, you would see the same effect. It would look large anyway. But the media have told so many times it's a larger moon. It is actually a larger moon that you see it when actually you cannot see any difference because it's so little difference, 5% on the surface, you cannot see the difference. Well, that's it. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and there's a button down here, and you can also tick the little bell so you will get notified when I upload a new video. My website ericgimbal.com. If you have any question or comment, you can leave it below. Send me an email to info@ericgimbal.com. Below also put in description links to other part of my channel and also links to my gear on Amazon. Thank you very much. Bye.